Welcome to the Power of Owning Your Career podcast, the show for women who are seeking more fulfillment in life and simply not getting it from their current situation. We focus specifically on careers, but hey, we spend a lot of time in our careers, so making changes here will definitely create an impact in your overall happiness. I'm your host, Simone Morris, and my mission is to empower women to succeed. I believe that in order to powerfully own your career, you must decide and claim that you want to sit in the driver's seat. You must know that you deserve better and be willing to not only do the requisite work, but be willing to go out on a limb to ensure your success. Each episode focuses on profiling a leader who is clearly demonstrating ownership of their career. Join me and my guests as we explore career journeys and bring you actionable strategies to use to get into the driver's seat for your career. Because ultimately, your career is your responsibility. Let's get into the show. Hi, everyone. It's Simone Morris, host of the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. I want to apologize for not getting the podcast out to you earlier this week. It has been a crazy week, but crazy in a good way. I'm just coming off of the Power of Owning Your Career workshop that was held this past Saturday in Stamford, Connecticut, and it was an amazing experience. Just what I wanted for attendees is exactly what happened. We had the right panelists. We had the right people in the room. We had the right photographer. It was just really extremely special. And if you missed it, just be on the lookout for when we do it again, because trust, we're taking this show on the road and it's moving around the country just to get people in the driver's seat for their careers. So I hope that you will look out for one of our events and show up for that event. Some really cool things happening. I always love to hear from you. So if you're ever interested in having a call with me, be sure to go to www.callwithsimone.com and you can set up a call and we can just have a quick chat to get to know one another. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to launch into this week's episode, which is with the one and only Bridget McGowan, who is CEO of BMC Talks. And Bridget is just as authentic as they come, and I know you'll get a lot, as usual, from the episode. I know I did. I certainly learned some things, and Bridget is not only funny, but she brings the goods as well. So stay tuned for this week's episode, and I really hope that you enjoy it. Welcome, Bridget.
Simone, thank you. You are the best. I'm sitting here just containing myself, trying to keep from laughing out loud, thinking about how we met in 2018, April 2018 in Phoenix at a professional development event.
Yeah, that was something else. You guys, Bridget left such an impression on me by responding to a presenter that I had to present myself to her afterwards to just create a friendship. I wasn't even expecting the level of friendship that we have, but that's just what's happened, and you will see why shortly. All right, Bridget, let's jump right in. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're currently doing.
I talk for a living. Point blank, end of story. When I was in elementary school, I received those talks too much comments on my report cards every single grading period. And so I got into adulthood and said, you know what, Bridget, you need to do something with that, sister girl. Somehow you need to can that and put it on a shelf. But to answer your question seriously, I am a professional speaker. That's what I do. And I'm also a presentation skills coach. I am on this huge mission to make every presentation everyone experiences one you will never forget, and all for the right reasons. Presentations that I do, but more importantly, presentations that others facilitate.
I love that. And I love the fact that you named your company after this compliment or this comment that was said in elementary school. I love that. All right. So do any career highlights jump out for you from your journey?
There are so many, Simone, and I don't say that to sound egotistical, but anyone who's listening who knows what it's like to do what you absolutely love, you know exactly what I mean, where you have so many highlights. You really have to step back and consciously think about it. But when you wake up and you go to work doing things that you absolutely love, it's easy to have a lot of highlights. But I'll tell you, 3 of my biggest ones are stepping out and just having the strength, having the braveness to start my own company. That has been a huge career highlight. The second one was releasing my book earlier in 2019, in April of 2019. It's entitled Real Talk. And then it sold out at a conference in DC in May of 2019, where there were over 12,000 professionals in attendance. I couldn't believe it. I was running and emailing the bookstore director at the conference saying, people are coming back telling me the book sold out, but is that true? Because I don't believe them. They can't be telling the truth. So that was huge. And I remember talking to you about it. Simone, what if nobody buys it? And Bridget, you better take extras. What are you talking about? What if nobody? Well, I'll take a few extras. I took a few extras like you told me to, and those sold out too. And I still had to send people links to where to get it. So I was just like, oh my, well, maybe people do like what I have to say. And then the third highlight is presenting at a conference on the same program with Oprah Winfrey, and at another conference on the same program with former President Barack Obama. I'm doing a little name drop in there, but you asked for highlights.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And you know what? I just know that this is even the half of it, just those 3. So amazing as always. Tell us, because this show is all about the driver's seat and being in the driver's seat for your career. So what was that moment for you that signified you were in the driver's seat for your career?
It was when it felt like my career had come to an end. To tell you the truth, that defining moment that told me, Bridget, you better get in that seat or get in another car. You better figure out something. My defining moment was when I was laid off from a position that I had from 2009 until 2016. And I loved the work that I did. I absolutely loved it. That was when I realized I was in the driver's seat of my career. This was a time when I realized I needed to see myself as more than an employee, as more than somebody who was just a name on a company roster. I realized that I had to embrace what it is that I did extremely well. I needed to own my talents. I needed to not brand myself as that job title, because a lot of times people will do that. When you ask someone, what do you do? That person will give you a job title. No, what do you do? If you were not in that position, if you work somewhere else, what is that big thing that you do where nobody else does it the way you do it? So I had to figure that out. I realized I had to embrace my talents, my strengths. And that's when I realized, Bridget, you're not, and I just started running down the job titles that I've had in my career. You're not a fry cook at McDonald's. No, I was never a fry cook, but that was my first job. But you're not a faculty member. You're not a tutor. You're not a professional development consultant. You are a professional speaker, homegirl. And so I realized right then and there I had 2 options. I was either going to drive and steer where I was going, or somebody else was going to drive and steer and make the turns for me. So I could take the wheel that day when I got the call that I no longer had a job and turn in the direction that I wanted to turn, or I could just sit in that passenger seat or sit in the back seat and look crazy.
You guys, I forgot to mention to you how funny I think Bridget is. You guys probably picking up on the humor in this interview as well. But Bridget, so how does one get to a place where they remove themselves from the labels of the different job titles, since you mentioned that?
That takes conscious effort, as you can imagine. So that probably goes without saying. You really have to step back and just tell yourself you're going to figure that out. You have to recognize that you're bigger than a company name, a company title, but think to yourself, what is the thing that I do so well, that I love to do, that if money was no object, if it didn't matter, and I would get up every day and do this, what is that? What is that about me? And getting out of this title, because let me tell you something, titles do not mean anything. When you tell somebody a title, I'm still sitting here wondering, what is it that you do? So step away from the title. Stop thinking about the title and sit down and ask yourself, what do I do? What difference do I make each day? What service do I provide people? What is it that I do that makes a difference in the lives of the people who are around me, the people who I am servicing, the people who I am connecting with, the people who are part of my network? What value do I bring people? Don't look at the title, but what value do you bring people on a professional level throughout your career?
Awesome. Appreciate that. Well, since we're talking about careers, what is your formula then? You know, once you got into the driver's seat, you pushed everybody out of the car. And no, you said, this is my car. What is the formula for successfully owning your career?
I have this vision of myself just pulling over on the side of the road. Get out, all y'all, get out. You don't have to go home. You don't have to go to the mall, but you are getting out of my car. I just have this vision all of a sudden.
Nice.
But I want to start off the formula by first saying this, because Simone, I know you have a wide array of professionals who listen to your podcast, and you have some who are well into their careers, and you have some who are just starting out. And I know sometimes people who are just starting out in their careers may feel like, oh, that sounds like a lot. I am not quite there yet. Let me tell you this. I need you to stay focused. I need you to stay so 100% focused, knowing there's nobody bigger, badder, tougher, hotter, smarter than you. Keep telling yourself that day in, day out, whether this is day one of your career or day 5,000th of your career. Keep telling yourself that nobody does what I do the way I do it. Period. I don't care how old you are or how long you've been in your career or how little time you've been in your career, but tell yourself how amazing you are. No one does what you do the way you do it. So that's how I want to start talking about my formula for successfully owning my career, because I did not always feel like the biggest, baddest, toughest, meanest, hottest in the room. No way. So what you're hearing right now is someone who has really gone down a journey, who's really gone down a road with bumps and bruises and highs and lows. You'll have some people talk like, oh, this is how everything's always been. I've always been so fabulous and amazing. You probably were, but you didn't necessarily always project it. I want you to project that to the world. Now, for the formula. The formula is A.B.C. Ask, breathe, call. Now, here goes. Ask yourself if you are where you want to be. Are you on the path you want to be on? Ask yourself every hard-hitting question you know you need to ask. I'm telling you, put yourself in the hot seat and do not run away from these tough questions, because these are questions that are going to get you where you want to be. These are the tough questions that your critics are pondering and thinking about. Oh, is she moving where she needs to go? She doing what she needs to do? So don't run away from them. Don't hide from those questions. Be tough on yourself, because number one, you are worth it. You are worth the absolute best. You deserve nothing less than that. So ask yourself everything. Ask yourself, are you doing all you can to be the very best you can be? And whether you like the answers or not, that's okay. As long as you are asking and answering yourself, because here's what comes next. Letter B, you breathe. Take a minute to step back, to see, to feel, to realize everything you have done. You may not have done everything you wanted to do, but that just means there's room to grow. You have more to do. There's more opportunity. Don't look at deficits as negatives, or don't look at holes or gaps as problems. Look at them as opportunities. And I don't want to sound cliche with this, because people say things like that all the time, but I'm telling you, you will get yourself in such a funk if you ask yourself all of those questions, and then you're looking at the answers and you're thinking, I'm not where I want to be. I didn't do what I wanted to do. Well, guess what? That means next week, that means Monday morning, start working on it. So everything you experience, stop and breathe. Think about all that you have built, your knowledge, your networks, associations, accomplishments, your education, those goals that you are still working on, connections that you've made, positions you have held, your worth, your talent, everything you've built, friendships, and oh yeah, even money, and everything. Breathe and let it all sink in as a message to you that you've done a lot at this point in your career. And more importantly, you need to think about how awesome, how totally awesome you are. And then letter C, call. Call on yourself to do more, to be more, to push the limits, to take the risks, to be okay with somebody saying no to you. You see, the more no's you get, and I have to remind myself of this. I know I sound bad and tough, but let me tell you, I have to remind myself, Bridget, it's okay to get a no sometimes, sister girl, because the more no's you get, and this is my message to you, the more no's you get, the better you get at knowing what to do and what to say to get closer to a yes. Call on yourself to be as amazing as you can as the professional you are. Call on yourself to be your own brand ambassador. Create your own brand. And this goes back to that getting away from titles. You are so much more than a title. Figure out, what is your personal brand? What do you want to be known for? When you leave a company, what do you want to be known for? When you go off and advance in your career and go somewhere else and start your business and whatever it is, make your side hustle a full-time hustle, whatever it is, when people walk away, what do you want them to say you are known for? Not a title, but man, she crushed it. She is the most amazing business analyst ever. Oh my gosh, she is an incredible whatever. Fill in the blank. Call on yourself to be your own brand ambassador. Figure out that brand. Do not wait for someone else to talk about how the bomb you are. Call out yourself for the world to see how impressive are you. Do that. A.B.C. Ask those hard-hitting questions, breathe, and think about all that you have done, and then call out yourself to do more. That's my formula.
Wow. I am sitting taller. How about you guys? This is a great moment for us to pause, and we'll return to the podcast in a few moments. But wow. What an amazing formula. Ask, breathe, and call. I am, again, sitting taller and just ready to take action after that formula. Thank you, Bridget. My goodness. Have you had a lot of success with that formula?
I have, because it helps me stay grounded. It helps me realize I am human, and sometimes things work out and sometimes they don't, and it's okay when they do not work out. But asking myself after everything I do, did that come out the way you wanted it to come out? Okay, let's say it didn't. Let me breathe and think for a minute what did work well, and then call on myself to do something differently. It just does. It's also a formula that I encourage teachers to use in the classroom, so that's a whole nother story.
Wow. You have to tell me about that sometime.
Yes.
Now, thinking about your career, can you think of a moment in time that you avoided responsibility and what you did to overcome that moment?
Oh, Simone, absolutely. It was when I used to work my fingers to the bone and hope I would get noticed in a job. I hoped someone would see my good work and hoped it would lead to a promotion or some kind of an advantage. And I did not take responsibility for what I wanted to happen to me. I was not in the driver's seat, point blank, no question about it. I was sitting in the back seat. I mean, you know what? I may have been on the luggage rack. I was not even being responsible. And I was watching somebody else drive, hoping that driver would read my mind, hoping that manager would steer my career in the direction I wanted it to go. And that was irresponsible. I overcame that very quickly when I was laid off. I received a wake-up call that my words, my actions, my thoughts all needed to intentionally match what I wanted. I couldn't just put my head down and put my nose to the grind, or whatever phrase we want to use, and just clocking in and clock out and give it my all and hope that someone will notice. I had to do something differently. I could not sit and hope, but I had to make it happen. There's just too much competition out there. And there are too many people blowing their horns, tooting their horns, like they're leading marching bands, looking like Dizzy Gillespie or something. They're out there. They're out there tooting their horns. Another one of our phrases that we hear. And I encourage you to strike up your own band. And I know it can feel a little uncomfortable, especially with women. We do not, a lot of times we feel like it makes us just look tacky. I don't know, or egotistical if we tout our accomplishments, if we share with the world that we won this award, or if we got a proposal accepted at some big conference, or if whatever. We feel like it's just, I don't know. And then sometimes we'll see people at the company who's always talking about, oh yeah, I got this and I did this. There's a way to say it. And so those people kind of turn you off. So you think to yourself, I don't want to be like that person. No. Strike up your own band. Shout your worth from the mountaintops. Do it in a professional way, a way that is consistent with your brand, that's classy, that's the way you want to come off. Put on the high beams, shout it from the mountaintops, what it is that you do. Don't dim your shine. You've told me that one, Simone. Be your own one-woman band. And if there are men out there listening, be your one-man band. And blow your horn, beat your drums. Let everybody hear and see that you are all that.
And a bag of chips. Right?
I'm telling you.
Absolutely. I can so relate to what you're saying, because for a long time I had my head down, because that's what we're taught. Do your job and they will notice and you'll get rewarded and you'll get promoted. And it doesn't work that way. And I'm surprised that there are many people who still think that that's the way that things work, and it's actually not. So I'm so glad that you mentioned tooting your own horn. I've got a band over here. I'm doing a lot of tooting on various platforms, but it is intentional tooting of the horn, because my mind, you have to be your best advocate. You have to bet on yourself consistently. If you're not going to do it, who do you think is going to do it? So
there you go. And you said the operative word. It has to be intentional. You're not doing it just to do it, but you are doing it because you're saying, you know what, this is my verbal resume. This is my daily proclamation that I am all that. I know that I am, but I need everyone else to know that. Because like you said, it just doesn't work the way it used to work. And did it ever work like that? Where you could just, work, and you would get recognized? Once upon a time. But it's just so different now. And you really have to take responsibility and get in that driver's seat.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said. Can you talk about risk and how you have taken risk in your career journey?
It's so scary. It's so scary. If I did not take risks from day one, then I never would have known what could have been. Let me tell you, when I got that phone call, it was April 5th of 2016 when I received my phone call. First off, I noticed I was a remote employee at the time. And so I saw an email message come through at something like 5 a.m. my time. something like that, 5 or 6 a.m. my time, for a phone call that was going to take place at 9 a.m. my time with a VP at the company. I'm like, she saw that podcast. I think it was a podcast series now that I'm thinking about it. It was a podcast series I put together. Oh, wow, she saw that and she's finally getting around to giving me a call to talk about it and let's move to another project. Yes. And it's silly me. And I got that phone call. It's like, well, Bridget, you've been great, but, thanks, but no thanks. So it was one of the worst feelings because I just didn't know what in the world I was going to do. And I took a risk. I didn't know a thing about starting a business. I had not built websites since, it had been probably nearly 20 years since I had done any website development or anything like that. And it was scary, but it was incredibly important that I stepped out there and I bought my URL, and the initial website looked a mess. I can own that. And it's gone through different iterations and so on. It was scary. It was downright scary, but it was important because when it comes to taking risks, you have to remember this age-old rule. The worst anyone can say is no. The worst that can happen is it's a fail. And what do? You don't just sit there and wallow, but you figure it out. If you never take that risk, you will never know what if. You will constantly sit and think about what if, and you will watch others live their what ifs. Yes, it takes guts, strength, stamina, thick skin, support systems, all of that. But again, you are worth it. You can sit by the sidelines or sit in the back seat, sit on the luggage rack, wherever, and watch somebody else get in their driver's seats and take risks. And let me tell you something. What you see on the outside, sometimes you'll see people carrying on and talk about how fabulous everything is. They are taking risks to get there. Everything is not all shiny, peachy keen rainbows and unicorns or whatever it is that you deem as being amazing. It's not always that. They are crossing their fingers. Let me put in this proposal. I gave it my best shot. Let me just put it out there. I sent off this idea. I booked this call. I don't know. I made this purchase. I made this investment. I bought this program. I don't know, but I'm going to take a risk because the worst thing that can happen is it ends up not working. But I don't want to ever say I didn't give it a try. But what if you do fail? What if you don't fail? But what if you do? That's okay. You get back up. But what if you do not fail? What if you take a risk and it leads to others seeing what you have done and they're feeling empowered to take risks too? What if you are a beacon for someone? What if you are that undiscovered star? Don't sit and watch others do what you know you could do just as well, if not better. What if you have that idea that makes a difference? You won't know. What if you're the one brave enough to take the risks that move others to be more than average and that move them to owning their careers? What if? So take the risks.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Can you talk to us about resources that you found to be helpful to you in your career?
I have 4 resources for you. Fast Company, 1. 2 would be Inc.com. 3 is Forbes, and then I'll talk about the 4th one in a second. But reading what they post, Fast Company, Inc.com, and Forbes, reading that has been huge. They cover a wide array of topics focused on leadership, career advancement, industry trends, you name it. And they make you feel and sound like the biggest, baddest one in the room, and just gives you ideas where you think, wow, okay, I didn't realize that. Just gives you inspiration, gives you some perspectives from other professionals. And then the 4th one is, I would be so wrong if I didn't bring up the 4th one as my book, Real Talk. And here's why. This isn't just a shameless plug. Month after month, the LinkedIn Workforce Report identifies the skills gap of professionals across the country, all of the skills gaps, and across industries. And I want you to take a guess at what is consistently the number 1 skills shortage: oral communication. go check. It's the LinkedIn Workforce Report. Be it New York, San Francisco, Dallas, pick a city. Oral communication ends up being the number one skills shortage or the number one skills gap in professionals. So my final resource, number 4, is my book, Real Talk, What Other Experts Won't Tell You About How to Make Presentations That Sizzle. While it focuses on effective presentation skills and the content is transferable to communication in general, it just gives you insight on how to speak with power no matter where you are. Because let's face it, everything you say is a presentation. It is, and I discuss that in the book. So grab your copy of Real Talk on Amazon.
Awesome. Well, this has been such a phenomenal interview. I learned a lot myself. I always do, and that's why I love doing this. Tell our guests how they can contact you.
There are 4 ways to get in touch with me. One is via email, and that would be Bridget, Bridgett, at BridgetMcGowan.com. That's BridgetMcGowen.com. The other way is to visit my website, just BridgetMcGowan.com, and just check out what I'm doing, what happens there. My second website is BMACtalks.com. That's BMCTALKS.com. And then the 4th way to get in touch with me and to connect with me is on LinkedIn. So I would love to see you there, love to connect with you there. And my profile there is Bridget McGowan on LinkedIn. I'm always posting articles on there. I love my articles there. So, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome, Bridget. Thank you so much. Any parting word or advice you want to give to someone wanting to own their career?
Absolutely. You're amazing. You just definitely are amazing. And don't let anyone tell you that you're not. And don't tell yourself that you're not amazing. Find some way to pick up your head each day. I want you to walk in every day with your head up, your shoulders back, your eyes laser focused, and just be ready to crush it every day, no matter the position you are in. You've got this.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being a guest on the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. It has been my pleasure, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. It is my hope that you enjoyed today's episode. You can check out the show notes for this episode on the SimoneMorrisEnterprises.org website by clicking the podcast menu. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and tell a friend or 2 about it.